repair, glass cutting, and deliver to the job site. They're open Monday through Friday from 7 to 4:30 and Saturdays from 8 to noon. That's Franklin County Lumber Company. Give them a call at 967-3856.
Each of us leaves a personal legacy behind, lasting memories with our family, friends, and neighbors.
When my husband passed away, the loss was painful, but I remembered the happy times.
When you're making funeral arrangements, talk to our personal advisors. We will ease your burden in a trying time and commemorate their legacy of life. Watson North, Funeral Home, Cremation Center, and Memorial Park.
7 minutes after the hour of 8 o'clock, and we have with us this morning Miss Helen Stapleton, and she has with her Dwight Fox, and we're going to be talking about Reconnect this morning. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, how are y'all? So yeah, we're going to be talking about, do we call it Tennessee Reconnect or TN Reconnect? Or
It's Tennessee Reconnect.
Tennessee Reconnect. But before we get into this, and this is a wonderful topic, this is so useful to so many people, but I just want to make a few announcements for the Franklin County Democratic Party before we get into the show. So we just had our reorganization. We do that every 2 years, and we chose our officers for the next 2 years. Not a whole lot of changes. Our chair is still Bob Zimmerman. Y'all might know him from the high school. Our first vice chair is Sandy Rice, who's often on this show. Our second vice chair is Gina Sims Johnson. Our third vice chair is Robin Smith. I'm staying on as secretary, and Diane Hand is staying on as treasurer. We used to meet on Saturday mornings. Now we're going to be meeting on the third Tuesday of the month at the annex in the small meeting room. So our next meeting is going to be this Tuesday, April 16th at 5:30. It's going to be at the annex. We're going to have a mock cocktail party meet and greet with non-alcoholic beverages. I don't know how fun that will be, but just kidding. And there'll be, light snacks. And our guest speaker is going to be Tina Stevens, who is the director of the Franklin County Libraries. And she's going to be talking about what they do there. And we'll be brainstorming events for 2019. So we hope y'all can make it to our first meeting with our new set of officers. It's going to be Tuesday, April 16th at 5:30 at the annex. Then on Tuesday, April 23rd, the Franklin County Democratic women will be meeting at the home of Sandy Rice on Kentucky Avenue in Suwanee. They're going to have a little buffet, a brief business meeting, and our guest speaker will be Dr. Amy Evans from Suwanee Pediatrics, who will discuss issues in the news such as the measles outbreak and all the kids that are losing TennCare. 128,000 kids in Tennessee are losing TennCare. So we hope that y'all can be at that meeting. If you need to find out directions to Sandy's house, you can email her at sandrafrice55@gmail.com or get in touch with any of our members. And I also just wanted to talk about some of the shows we've got coming up on Common Sense Matters. On April 25th, we're going to be talking about the Green New Deal. On May 9th, Billy Dykes will be talking to us about unions in Tennessee. And on May 23rd, we're going to have a show on fake news and how to spot it. But today we're going to be talking about TN Reconnect, and I just want to make an announcement to all our listeners. Our guests have nothing to do with the Democratic Party. Mr. Fox is completely apolitical in his position, so just because he's on this show doesn't mean that his program has anything to do with one party, Republican or Democrat or the other. But we're just having him on so that more people will know about this great program, TN Reconnect. So before we go into all of the stuff about TN Reconnect, could you tell us just a little bit about yourself, how you got into this field or where you're from, just so we kind of know who you are?
Well, actually, I live in Columbia, Tennessee, in Murray County, and my background is in engineering and manufacturing and business, actually. And I've been working in the public sector for about 10 years. I finally figured out what I wanted to do when I grew up. So I have really enjoyed this. And once I have gotten into Tennessee Reconnect, I am the director of South Central Tennessee Reconnect. And basically what we do is our team covers 14 counties in the south central part of Tennessee to help people, adult learners, to get ready to be in school and to help them through the process of returning to school and to stay in school.
So I bet when you were in the engineering field, you noticed that there weren't enough people to fill some of the jobs. I mean, is that true?
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, the projections currently are that 65% of the manufacturing jobs that we see in the South Central area is still heavily manufacturing, particularly automobile manufacturing and the support services for that. But the projection is that 65% of the current jobs that are in the manufacturing world will not exist in the year 2025. There'll be jobs, but they won't exist as we know them now. Instead of having a wrench and a screwdriver, you're going to have a computer and a PLC and all these type things that you're going to have to use to do your job. So the technology is changing so rapidly, not only in the manufacturing field. Just think about how often a new phone comes out.
Right.
So, and the manufacturers and the businesses have to keep up with this technology to remain competitive. So one of the things they have to do is have a trained workforce.
And these jobs, from what I gather, take a lot more training than they used to. Like, you can't just right out of high school manufacture cars. You've got to have a lot of training, right?
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, back in the day when I was in the manufacturing world, we'd have a manufacturing line with half a dozen people doing various jobs along that line. Well, 10 years ago, you had 2 people in that line with PLC, and they were doing some programming, they were doing some maintenance. Now I can run that same production line from anywhere in the world with my smartphone.
Wow. I'm curious, how much do these jobs pay, these highly trained manufacturing jobs? What's the typical pay range for this area?
In our area, what we're seeing is that the jobs are starting at $15 to $22 an hour, with about $17 or $18 an hour being the average starting wage.
Okay. All right. Yeah, and I wanted to let people know, please call in if you have any questions for Mr. Fox. If you have a son, a daughter, a cousin, a nephew, or a niece who you think should go back to school and get trained for some of these types of jobs. So my first question for you is, what is the difference between Tennessee Promise and Tennessee Reconnect?
Tennessee Promise is for high school graduates. It's for graduates just out of high school that are going directly into the college system. And it is for either a technical degree or for a 2-year associate's degree. Tennessee Reconnect is similar, but it is for adult learners. Generally, you have to be what's called FAFSA independent. FAFSA is the federal application for free student aid. And normally that means that you have to be 24. There are some exceptions that will make you FAFSA independent. But basically, Tennessee Reconnect is for adult learners 24 and older.
Oh, okay. I thought it was 25 and older, but not a big difference. Okay, so it's for people further out of high school.
It is. Our oldest reconnector in Tennessee is 82.
Really? And what are they getting trained for?
They're going back for psychology.
Oh, wow, that's wonderful. Okay, well, I am a mentor for TN Promise, and you know, our students have to have a mentor. They have to go to meetings over at Franklin County High periodically. They have to do service work. You know, I think 8 hours of community service every semester. Do the adults in TN Reconnect have to have a mentor and do community service?
They do not. As a matter of fact, that's one of the big differences. One of the things, though, that we do find with adult learners is that sometimes they do not have the support system in their family and when their friends that they need to go back to school. Because for adult learners, it's a little bit of a different scenario for them to go back to school than it is for an 18-year-old that goes directly from high school to college. You know, they have life events, they have a car payment, they have a house payment. You know, they may have children, they may have different obligations than an 18-year-old would have. So what we do have, and part of what our group does, is called Tennessee South Central Tennessee Reconnect community is we offer what we call navigators, or advisors, that will work with our reconnectors one-on-one to help them walk through the process, to give them encouragement, to help them find whatever they're lacking to go back to school. You know, a lot of our adult learners need transportation. They need childcare. Childcare is a big issue for adult learners, particularly if they're trying to go to school during the day, because they may not have anyone to watch their children while they go back to school during the day. You know, they may need help in paying for books. Tennessee Reconnect, like Tennessee Promise, is a last dollar tuition only scholarship. So the adult learners and the Promise students will still have to pay for their books and their fees and some of these type things that come up. So it's not totally free. The biggest part of the expense is paid through the tuition, but there are still some expenses. So one of the other things that we do as a Reconnect community is we help find resources for these adult learners to help pay for some of these things that they have to pay for out of pocket. We work very closely with American Job Centers and some of the other local nonprofits to see if we can't help these reconnectors.
So, okay, let's just say I'm 27 years old and I want to do this. What is step one? What are the requirements, first of all? Do you have to have your GED or your high school diploma before you start this process, or could a high school dropout do this?
You do have to have either what's a high set, which is the new term for the GED in this area. You do have to have your high set or a high school diploma. You have to be college ready, and that I mean that you do have to have your high school transcript. It's a pretty simple process. There's actually 4 steps. There are some more little guidelines, but there are 4 major steps. You have to apply for FAFSA. That's the free application for federal student aid, and that's actually that's the gateway to any financial aid. So regardless of whether you're going to use Reconnect, if you're going to use any kind of financial aid at all, you will have to file a FAFSA. The good news about FAFSA too is that a lot of our reconnectors are eligible for Pell Grants through the FAFSA application. Pell Grants are great too, even though they do not receive Reconnect because the Pell will pay for them. They are still reconnectors to us, so we will still furnish them the other services. They just will not be eligible for the Reconnect grant. Good news with Pell is that at the TCATS, Tennessee College of Applied Technologies, or the community colleges, there's enough Pell, the max Pell is $6,090 a year, that it will allow for the payment of the tuition, books, and fees to go back to a community college to get an associate's degree. Now that's the first step, is your FAFSA. The second step is you apply to the college or institution that you want to go to, and there's a list of eligible schools. All of the Tennessee colleges, applied technology, and all of the community college systems in the state of Tennessee are eligible, along with some 4-year schools. We do caution all of our reconnectors that if they go to a 4-year school, that Reconnect will only pay the tuition up to the amount that it would have been at a community college. So even if you go to an eligible 4-year school, you may still have some financial obligation for your tuition if that tuition is more than it is at a community college. So you apply to the school, be accepted, and then you apply for the Tennessee Reconnect grant scholarship. You can do that at tnreconnect.gov.
Okay, tnreconnect.gov, y'all. Write that down.
And once you get there, there'll be steps. We'll walk you through the process. It's a 5-minute process to apply. Your FAFSA, when you do that, if you've never done that, right now you have until October for the 2019-2020 academic year. You need your 2017 income tax returns.
Okay. Now, another building a TCAT right there on Dinosaur Boulevard, that will be covered, right, once it's
It will,
built.
absolutely.
That's so, y'all, anyone living around here, if you want to go to that one that they're building right now, well, I guess you'll have to wait till it's built, because the nearest one is Shelbyville, right?
Right, and TCAT Shelbyville is a partner in the Reconnect program. They provide a lot of wonderful training. The TCATs are the up and coming thing. it's a little bit easier process to apply to the TCATs than it is to the community colleges. At the TCATs, you'll do your FAFSA. Again, that's the key to all your financial aid. Apply to the school, and they will walk you through the rest of the process. They will actually help you apply for the Tennessee Reconnect grant at the school. So just if you're interested in going to a TCAT, go do your FAFSA, go see your TCAT, make an appointment, and they will get you in school.
Okay. And Motlow, of course, would be included in
Motlow, absolutely. Motlow is one of our partners that we work with. And as a matter of fact, the TCATs and the colleges each have an adult learner coordinator. At the TCAT in Chevyville, that's going to be Dawn Hobbs, and at the Motlow, it's going to be Allison Barton. Both of these folks are there to help specifically the adult learners walk through this process once they get them to school. We help get them to the school, get them to the process, and then the schools will walk them through that. Now, once you receive the Reconnect grant, there are some requirements that you'll have to do. You're going to have to carry at least 6 hours, which is usually 2 classes per semester. You have to be consistently enrolled, and basically that means that you have to go spring and fall. You do not have to go summer semester. You can if you want to, but you still have to take the 6 hours, and Reconnect will pay for you to go to summer. It's just not a requirement that you do that. You have to be a resident of Tennessee for a year. If you're male, you have to be registered with Selective Service, as you do for any programs that are federally connected. And you're going to have to maintain a 2-point GPA. That's pretty well it.
Oh, okay. I'm looking at the brochure you brought, and it says also that you must not already have an associate or bachelor's degree.
That is correct.
Okay.
You can't double dip. Now, the interesting thing is there's 2 pathways. There's the TCAT pathway, and there's a community college pathway. So if I have an associate degree, but I want to go back to TCAT Chevyville for mechatronics, I can still go the TCAT route. Or if I have certification from the TCAT, and a really good example of this, if I have an LPN that I've got at one of the TCATs, I can still go back to community college for a 2-year RN, and it will pay for that.
Okay. So you can't just have a bachelor's, an associate's degree, and then go get another associate's degree at a community college, but you can do TCAT or community college, but not get to
Right,
the same
right.
thing. Okay. Now, how long has this program been in action?
This particular,
It's newer than Promise, right?
It is newer than Promise. It was actually signed into law in July of 2017. Prior to that, there was a block grant that there was basically a trial process with the community colleges. But 2017 is when the law was actually enacted to allow the Tennessee Reconnect program. And by the way, it is funded through the lottery scholarship program, so this is not a taxpayer burden.
Oh, it's all funded through the lottery?
It is, just like Promise.
Okay, interesting. All right, so, but even if it were, it's not burdening taxpayers to create workers who will then be taxpayers. I'm saying even if the taxpayers were paying for it, I think investing in people so that they become independent and earners on their own is an investment and not a drain on taxpayers. It's going to eventually create more.
It really is, and again, we mentioned earlier that a lot of the jobs that are currently here are going to go away. So you're going to have to retrain if you're going to maintain a good paying job. Right. Tennessee Reconnect, as well as Promise, is part of what Governor Haslam began, is his Drive to 55, which is a drive to have 55% of the adult population and working population in the state of Tennessee to have something beyond a high school diploma by the year 2025.
And that was a great goal. So I guess since y'all are so new, you haven't seen that many people getting all the way through the program yet, huh?
Well, we don't have anyone that started after the program started in July of 2017, obviously, but we do have some students that were already in school that were eligible for the Tennessee Reconnect grant once it became available.
Okay.
So we have had some real success stories. We're very proud of the results we've had. As I mentioned, the goal is to have 55% of the adult working population with something beyond a high school diploma. Right now, the state of Tennessee is almost at 40%. When this program started, we were around 32%. So it's really made a difference in a short period of time, and we anticipate we're actually ahead of schedule for that. We had almost 14,000 adult learners apply for the Tennessee Reconnect grant in the fall semester.
How many? I'm sorry.
Almost 14,000.
14,000.
Out of those, there were just under 9,000 that actually followed through and went to school.
And how many do y'all hope to have each year?
Well,
or what do y'all have the capacity for, I guess?
And that depends. That's an evasive question, but that it definitely depends on the school and on the program. There are certain programs that are very popular that schools are scrambling to find capacity, and they are working very diligently on that, and are doing what they need to do to get there. We want every adult in Tennessee to have something beyond a high school diploma, and we're working very hard with that. One of the things that we do, you mentioned the high set and the GED, we do partner with adult education. As the folks get their high set, we will work with them because they're primed to continue their education. So that is one of our resources that we work with very closely, the adult education programs in our counties, to make sure that they are aware of the Reconnect program so that these adults can continue.
So what are some of the biggest obstacles that people have to completing this program? I mean, one, I imagine if you don't even have your GED yet, that could, or your high school diploma, that could feel like, oh God, before I can even start this. But other than that, like not having your high school degree, what are some of the biggest obstacles that keep people from participating in this project?
Well, again, adult learners have unique needs. Most of
you
our
talked about that before,
but most of our adult learners are working. Over 50% of our adult learners work full-time jobs. Almost 90% of them work either part-time or full-time. And the average age of our adult learner in the South Central is just over 37 years, which is kind of interesting. Statewide, it's closer to about 34, but our adult learners are about 37. One of the biggest issues we see is child care.
Yeah.
It's child care.
Okay. So if I was just wondering if you could go sort of dive down deep into one individual whose life has been helped or changed by this program. Like, can you think of one person who you have dealt with who, was sort of floundering career-wise and, was really helped?
We do. As a matter of fact, there's one lady that is in Wayne County that I like to use because she has totally changed her life. She did not have a high school diploma, so she worked very hard and went back to school to get her high school diploma.
What was she doing before this? Was she working?
She was working in fast food.
Okay.
She was working in fast food.
Probably making minimum wage.
Minimum wage, at best, maybe $8 an hour. So she went back, and she has 2 children. She's a single parent. And so she went back and got her certification from TCAT in Hornwall as office administration. So she's now working in that particular field. She got a job. And the other thing we're really proud of is that we also were able to get her help with books, some transportation help. We were also, one of the things we were able to get her help with, she had not had great dental care. We were able to work with her and work with some local resources, and we're able to get her some dental help and some dental care. which this was what she thought, and what actually we thought was a barrier to her getting the job she was looking for.
Yeah, because they're not going to put you up front where people can see you if your teeth aren't nice, and that's sad, but that's just a reality. If you go to work in a restaurant, they're going to put you back in the kitchen, and if you want to work in an office, they're going to put you out of sight. And
That's exactly right. And now,
That's
actually,
wonderful.
she's going on and she's taking classes through Columbia State to get her associate's degree. So she is our poster child.
Okay. Do you know what she's earning now?
Actually, I think she's earning around $11 an hour. The average person that gets either a certification from a TCAT or an associate's degree is going to earn about $10,000 more per year than someone with just a high school diploma.
Okay, if any of y'all have questions for Mr. Fox, he's the expert, give us a call at 967-2201. I'm sure we all have a family member who could benefit from this. I know I have a nephew who could benefit from this, but his big problem is transportation. That's the biggest issue. That's the biggest impediment for him. How do y'all get around the transportation issues?
That's probably the single hardest issue that we have, particularly in our rural counties, and the 14 counties I work in are all rural counties. We don't have the bus services that metros, some of the metro areas have, that we could work with that. But we do work with some public transportation.
Well, Franklin County does have Franklin County public transportation. I think you have to get with them a day or 2 days in advance, and you're not always guaranteed. It might be full. That's the problem, you know.
That is the issue.
But we're lucky to even have that, I guess.
Yeah. And that is the issue with the limited public transportation we have, is that it's not as reliable sometimes as we'd like, primarily because they never know from one day to the next how many is going to be riding and where they're going to have to go. So what our adult learners have learned to do is to make sure that they get to school early and make arrangements to stay late if they have to.
And when you're paying childcare, that's hard to do, you know.
It is. And you know, one of the other big issues that we have is internet access.
Oh yeah, I didn't think about that.
Because so many classes now are you register online, you apply for your fast phone line, you apply for your Tennessee Reconnect grant online. So that is one of the big issues, and the schools are very good about offering their resource centers for that. Public libraries have the resource centers for that.
Yeah, the Franklin County Public Library has a bank of computers that people can use to do things like that.
And the American Job Centers, if you happen to have American Job Centers, they also have that resource room. The problem with part of that is that sometimes they aren't open at the later hours when some of our reconnectors actually do their homework and do their stuff online because they work during the day.
Right, yeah.
But that is also a big element. I have one county that's so rural, only 67% of the county does not have access to internet. Not that the folks don't have internet, they don't have access to it.
Right, yeah, that's a big problem here in Franklin County too. There's big areas that don't have it. In fact, right now, the Ben Lomond Company is trying to get a grant from the USDA to bring internet to Alto. That whole area is unserved or underserved. So little by little, we're trying to get the whole county covered. Ben Lomond did just get a grant to put it in parts of Sewanee that didn't have it. So I can see lack of transportation and lack of internet as being a big obstacle. What else do you want to tell us about it?
Well, let me tell you that we are here to help adult learners anytime. You can go to www.tnreconnect.gov and click on the Get Started button. And everything you need to know about Tennessee Reconnect is there. And there's also an opportunity to connect to the Reconnect communities, the ones that serve in your particular area. Franklin County is served by South Central, and we serve Grundy, we serve Lincoln, we serve Coffee, all the counties in the South Central part of Tennessee. We have advisors, we call them navigators, that are there, and their whole job is to work with you one-on-one. There's no two adult learners that have the same situation.
And will the navigators help you do the FAFSA?
They will help you walk through that. Now, the good news is most of the schools, I know that the TCAT in Chevyville, and Motlow both have orientation opportunities for you to come to the schools and do your FAFSA there.
Oh, that's good. I have a master's degree. I think I'm a pretty smart person, I guess, but I have the hardest time doing the FAFSA. It's really frustrating for me to do. I have 3 kids, and I've had to do it for all of them, and so I imagine if you barely just even have a GED, you might find that complicated, or because I sure do find it difficult and complicated, and I'm always having to call my sister or call people while I'm in the middle of doing it, and what should I say here, and so. But a navigator would be that person that
a navigator would either help them walk through it, and a lot of times they just have a simple question about the FAFSA. I got here, or I forgot to add a school, or whatever it may be, and the navigators can walk them through that. If not, the navigators will refer them to either one of the TCATs or one of the community colleges, or our community resource that will certainly help them. We will make sure that they get their FAFSA done.
Okay. All right. Well, I just think this is a wonderful program. I think there are so many people who would love to go back to school, and they just need that little nudge, that little extra nudge, and this is that. This is that extra little nudge that they need to do it, and then they're, like I said, they're going to be making more and becoming more independent and fulfilling a really useful role in society. I think it's great. And just like the GI Bill after World War II, I can't tell you how many families I know who said the first person in their family to ever go to college was the soldier who got the GI Bill. And then that whole family was then lifted up into the middle class.
That's exactly right.
And that's what this can do. I think that's what this, programs like this can do. It'll take people who wouldn't otherwise go to college and or get training and lift them up, and I think that's great.
Well, Tennessee, as you know, is one of the 2 states in the U.S. that has a program statewide for adult learners like this. California is working on it. They're not there yet. The only other state is Rhode Island, and I'm not sure that they're a real state, but they're about the size of Franklin County. But
they're a state. I think New York State is too.
New York State is working on it. They are working on it. But theirs is going to be actually a little bit different. There's going to have some more restrictions on theirs than we do here in Tennessee. But this is a model program. Tennessee Reconnect was modeled after the Graduate Network out of Philadelphia and carried statewide. The Graduate Network's model basically was larger cities. Memphis actually had the Graduate Network called the Graduate Memphis prior to Tennessee Reconnect, but it was very selective, targeted individuals that got to participate in that. Tennessee Reconnect is for any adult that does not have an associate's degree or certification from a TCAT. So it's statewide.
Yeah, when Bernie Sanders talks about universal college education at public institutions, this is just a little baby step towards that, and it's working, Of course, this is being paid for by the lottery, not from taxes, but still, I think it's just a great program, and I hope y'all have great success. What are the fields that most of your enrollees are going into? Like, what are, say, the 3 or 4 top fields?
Well, actually, prior to getting some results back, we thought probably the medical field would be the number 1. Medical is actually number 3. Business is number 1. Psychology is number 2, and various medical fields are the 3rd.
Psychology is number 2?
Psychology is number 2.
Really?
And
I thought it would be manufacturing or...
Well, business is number 1. But the reason that I think psychology is number 2 is because that is a stepping stone to a lot of your public service type jobs.
Okay. And then number 3 is medical.
Number 3 is
And what's
medical.
4?
4 can be all over the board. I really, once we get past 3, we don't look, because once it gets past that, it's just a hodgepodge of different things. And I will say now, any program that works toward a degree at a community college or toward a certification at a TCAT is eligible. So it's not just selected programs that are eligible for the Tennessee Reconnect grant. It is anything you can do, whatever you want to do.
So you could get an
towards your life
associate's
goals.
degree in, say, history or something.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. If that's offered at one of the schools.
What if you have a student or a person that has already completed at a TCAT, but it was, say, 5 years ago, and they want to refresh things?
Yeah, unfortunately, Reconnect would not pay for that. If they've already got a certification, now what they can do is they can go to a community college for a 2-year degree. As I said, there's 2 paths. There's a TCAT path, a technical path, and there's a community college path. You can have an associate's degree and still go to a TCAT. You can have certification from TCAT and then go back and get an associate's degree. So there are two career paths that you could go there. So it's not real prohibitive, but you can't double dip in the same path.
But that's a good question, Karen, because, I mean, if somebody went, say, 5 years ago, what they learned might be completely...
That's what, say
it's
2008.
obsolete by now.
2008,
Yeah.
2009, say you went to Chevrolet Tech, you got your degrees, and then you didn't, at that point in time, apply that degree, but maybe you're switching jobs and want to apply that degree now, but has times changed? I mean, times have changed,
Right,
but has what you learned changed?
Yeah, and unfortunately the law is written so that you cannot do that. And part of that is because it was originally targeted to get people that don't have any kind of degree to a degree program. So that's the original target. Now that may change as we move forward, and certainly that's a great question, a great opportunity, but currently that is not the way the law is written.
I imagine, though, if you're somebody like that and you did then go work for Nissan or something, that then maybe Nissan would send you for retraining, possibly. Do you find-
Recertification.
Yeah, and it kind of depends on the company you work for. We do find that a lot. As a matter of fact, the Nissan in Deckard, I met with them along with representatives from Motlow and from TCAT Chevrolet recently, and they are partnering with the TCAT and Chevrolet to offer some programs to their employees that Nissan is going to pay for. But you will find that it varies with the employer as to whether or not a lot of employers do have tuition reimbursement. You mentioned the military. The military has TN-Reconnect for the military, assuming, of course, that they don't have their military, if they've been in the military, they don't have their benefits from the military. One of the things that we do recommend to folks that have military benefits is that you can get your first 2 years to Reconnect and then use your military benefits to finish out your bachelor's degree. Because you have like 36 months once you start with your military benefits to complete those. So it's a good opportunity. If you've got those, you can certainly give them to a family member or a child or something like that. But if you're using them yourself, use Reconnect the first 2 years and use your military benefits to finish your bachelor's if that's the path you're going.
Well, for my TN Promise mentorees, I started with 6 and only 2 went through with it. That's just because 3 of the others ended up going to 4-year schools, so it didn't apply. But 2 of these young women are going to be nurses by the end of this year, and I'm just so proud of them. And they've done all their community service, they've done all their the things that they need to do. And I run into one of them working at Walmart. She's working, I think, full time and doing this, but yeah, she'll be a nurse soon. Whatever the 2-year version of it.
Promise and Reconnect are both great programs. Please take advantage of it. If you're there and you don't have a degree, there's never a better time to get it done and get it paid for.
Well, thank thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate that, and I hope people listening out here, if y'all, Mr. Fox brought a big stack of info, like a brochure card, palm cards, and they are sitting here at the office at WCDT. Karen, do you mind if people come by and get them? And you know what? I might take a stack over to the library. Do y'all have them at the library?
We've put them there now. Honestly,
Okay.
I'm not sure if they have them or not.
Okay. But anyway, there's a stack of things. But, you know, even if you don't want to come here and pick up a card, just go to tnreconnect.com. .gov. Sorry, tnreconnect.gov, and it'll have all the same information that's
What
on
is
this
the
card.
starting age?
The starting age is FAFSA independent. Normally, that means 24. Now, if you're married, have a child, in the military, or indigent, homeless, those kind of things, there are some other qualifying factors that if you're under 24 that will make you eligible.
That's good. Okay. Well, our show is almost over. So before we go, I just want to thank Karen and Mr. Fox, and I just want to tell y'all our announcements again. This Tuesday, April 16th at 5:30, we will be meeting at the Annex with a mock cocktail party, meet and greet, and our guest speaker will be Tina Stevens from the Franklin County Library, and we'll be brainstorming events afterwards. And then on Tuesday, April 23rd at 5:30, we'll be meeting at the Franklin County Democratic Women will be meeting at the home of Sandy Rice in Sewanee, and you can contact her for directions to her house. That's Sandra F. Rice 55@gmail.com, and she'll give you the direction to her house. Dr. Amy Evans will be leading a discussion about the measles outbreak and why it's important to vaccinate your kids, and about kids losing TennCare in our state. And we hope you keep tuning in every second and fourth Thursday to our show, and thank you so much.
All right. So we thank y'all for being with us today. And this has been the Franklin County Democratic Party.
The High on the Hog Festival out of the Winchester City Park starts Tuesday, April the 16th, with so much going on through the week.